The first time Zariah Coleman rolled into Pine Brook Middle School, silence fell like a dropped pin on tile. It wasn't the kind of silence that came from respect or awe. It was the uncomfortable kind, sticky and awkward, where kids didn't know what to say, so they said everything with their eyes. The double doors creaked open at 8:06 a.m. Her wheelchair clicked against the tile, echoing down the hallway like thunder in a chapel. Heads turned. Some kids looked away quickly. Others stared longer than they should have. The curiosity was thick. Mixed in was a pinch of pity. And something else, something she knew too well by now. Judgment. Zariah's mother, Monique, had pulled her close that morning before school. She knelt by the wheelchair, tightening the backpack straps like she was preparing her daughter for battle. "Baby girl," she'd said softly, "just go be you. Don't let them make you small." Zariah didn't reply. Not because she didn't agree, but because she was tired of pretending that being her was enough. She had cerebral palsy. And her wheelchair? It wasn't a prison. It wasn't some symbol. It was just her way of getting from one place to another. Just like other kids wore glasses or braces or used inhalers. But no one stared at inhalers. No one whispered about glasses. This was her third school in 2 years. The last one hadn't worked out. Neither had the one before. Kids could be cruel. Teachers could be worse. And administrators? They smiled in public and buried complaints in private. But today was a fresh start. Or so she told herself. Room 208. Homeroom. She wheeled in halfway through morning announcements. The teacher, Mr. Blevins, paused mid-sentence. He turned with a grin too wide, the kind that tried too hard. "Class, we've got a new student today. Say hello to Zariah Coleman." A chorus of awkward, mumbled, "Hi Zariah," followed. She gave a small nod, more out of habit than warmth, and wheeled to the desk already pushed into the far corner. Of course. The corner. Separate. She scanned the room. Every other desk was arranged in neat rows. Hers was the only one set apart. That's when she saw them. The trio. Kylie Baines. All pink glitter and sharp smiles. Braden Clemens, varsity jacketed, loud, and proud of it. And Connor Reese, narrow eyes, fake sympathy face. Together, they didn't look dangerous. They looked like a lunchbox commercial. But Zariah knew. It was always the polished ones. They watched her with matching smirks, like she was a stray dog that wandered into a steakhouse. She kept her face still. Blank. That was her trick. No reaction. No expression. No satisfaction for them. Part 2, a week of whispers and walls. By Wednesday, Zariah had already memorized the layout of Pine Brook Middle, not by choice, but by sheer necessity. It wasn't about curiosity or navigation. It was about survival. Which hallways had ramps instead of stairs? Which bathrooms to avoid because the doors opened the wrong way or the soap dispensers hadn't worked in weeks? Which teachers slowed their speech when talking to her like she was fragile porcelain instead of a student who just happened to sit lower than others? She had the answers now. All of them. But what she hadn't mapped out, what no building plan or schedule could help her predict, were the people. The way students grouped up like little kingdoms. The way glances turned into whispers. Whispers turned into laughter. And laughter, in places like this, could become a weapon faster than anyone expected. Third period was the worst. It was math. It was also where Kylie Baines and her smug little entourage took their seats 2 rows away from Zariah's desk. But that didn't stop them from making their presence felt. They had a habit of pretending to whisper while saying things just loud enough for her to hear. "Did you see her twitch during roll call?" Like a glitching robot, Kylie would say. I heard she lives in a group home, Connor added once, flipping a pencil between his fingers like he was bored. Or maybe like one of those care centers. Zariah never responded. Never flinched. Her silence wasn't weakness, it was armor. Her face stayed blank. Her eyes stayed forward. But that didn't mean she wasn't listening. It didn't mean the words didn't hurt. They did. After class, she'd roll fast, eyes down, avoiding the clusters of students that crowded the halls like obstacles in a video game. Sometimes Omar, the quiet boy from her locker hallway, would nod at her. Once, he even helped her pick up a book she'd dropped without making a scene. No commentary. No pity. Just kindness. It was the only moment in the whole week that didn't feel like she was wearing armor. By Friday, Zariah had stopped eating in the cafeteria. Too many stares. Too many fake friendly girls offering help she hadn't asked for. Instead, she took her peanut butter sandwich and juice box to the library, where Ms. Wren, the librarian, rarely asked questions and always let her sit near the back window. There, Zariah found peace, not in the quiet, but in the stories. Graphic novels mostly. Ones where the heroes had powers they didn't understand. Voices they hadn't yet discovered. She clung to them. Not because she believed she was a hero, but because she wanted to believe that maybe, someday, she could be something more than just the girl in the chair. Little did she know, she already was. And the moment that would prove it was just around the corner. Part 3, Cracks in the Armor. Monday morning arrived with a gray sky and a cold breeze that slipped through the cracks of the front door as Zariah waited for her mom to finish making coffee. She sat quietly by the shoe rack, backpack already strapped, hoodie up. She didn't say much. Not because she was in a bad mood, but because she didn't have the words to explain the heaviness in her chest. Monique placed the to-go cup in the holder by the dash and looked at her daughter through the rearview mirror as she backed out of the driveway. "Rough week?" she asked gently. Zariah gave the smallest shrug. "They're just kids," her mother continued, more to herself than anyone. "Eventually, they'll come around." Zariah looked out the window. "What if I don't want them to come around? What if I want them to leave me alone?" Monique was quiet for a few seconds. Then, "I know it's hard, Z, but you don't hide who you are just because they don't understand it. You're not the problem. Their small minds are." Zariah didn't answer. She just stared at the foggy school building coming into view. She already felt it, eyes tracking her, whispers waiting for fuel. And they didn't disappoint. In homeroom, someone had drawn a cartoon on the corner of the whiteboard. A stick figure with wheels and wavy arms, next to the words, Spaz Z. She stared at it for 3 seconds. Then she rolled up to the board, picked up the eraser, wiped it clean, and went to her seat without saying a word. Mr. Blevins looked up from his computer. Did someone draw something inappropriate? No one answered. He scanned the room, clearly uninterested in pushing further. Let's just focus on the announcements, people. Zariah didn't flinch. But that crack, tiny, invisible to everyone else, formed quietly inside her. And it wasn't the only one. By third period, Kylie had taken to bumping her chair on purpose whenever they passed in the hallway. Always with a smile. Always with an "oops." That day, it happened again, locker 32187. Zariah muttered the code under her breath. Her fingers twisted the lock in practiced rhythm. Oops. A hard hip check. Zariah caught herself, kept the chair steady. Didn't see you there, Kylie said sweetly. Zariah stayed silent. Kylie leaned down. You know you'd be cute if your mouth didn't twitch like that when you talk. Zariah didn't look at her. Just grabbed her English book and shut the locker with a controlled slam. From a few feet away, Braden let out a mocking laugh. Yo, don't make her cry, Kylie. You know she don't blink. She just vibrates. Connor added, maybe she's charging. Solar panel back there or something. Zariah rolled away before the wave could hit her. But inside. Another crack. They were adding up now, these little moments. Small fractures in her resolve. And even the strongest armor, if struck enough times, starts to bend. That night, she didn't go straight to her room. Instead, she rolled into the garage, switched on the old lamp that barely lit the space, and stared at the punching bag hanging in the corner. It still had the initials J.C. Jalen Coleman. Her grandfather. She wheeled up slowly, lifted her right hand, and struck once. It didn't hurt. In fact, it felt good. Strike. Pivot. Exhale. Reset. She didn't remember the names of the movements, but her body did. Like echoes from an old song she hadn't sung in years. She struck again. And again. Each hit wasn't anger, it was release. A letting go. A calling back. Her grandfather's voice stirred faintly in the background of her thoughts. Balance isn't about legs, Z, it's about breath. Mind. The part of you that doesn't wobble when life pushes. She was finding it again. Bit by bit. Not rage. Not revenge. Control. Stillness. But school was waiting. And some lessons weren't written in books. They were about to be written in bruises, emotional ones, some of them real. Because all that training, all that memory, meant nothing until she was truly tested. And that test was coming. Part 4, The Cafeteria Incident. The cafeteria at Pine Brook was a symphony of chaos, trays clattering, soda cans hissing open, bursts of laughter echoing off the walls like cannon fire. Zariah hadn't stepped foot inside it for a week. She preferred the silence of the library, the sanctuary behind Ms. Wren's desk. But that day, she forgot her pass. She rolled up to the library door only to find it shut, a small handwritten sign taped to the glass, closed for inventory. Please return during 6th period. Zariah stared at the sign, heart sinking. It meant she had no choice. The cafeteria. She hesitated for a few seconds at the doors. Took a breath. Then rolled inside. Every table was full. Tribes gathered by the social gravity only middle school could invent, athletes in the far back, the drama kids circling the stage windows, the band kids under the flickering ceiling light. She searched for a quiet place, a forgotten corner. And found one, near the vending machines, beside the janitor's closet. A small circular table no one had claimed. She rolled up, unpacked her peanut butter sandwich, set her juice box beside it, and put in her earbuds. Maybe, just maybe, she'd get through lunch. She was 5 minutes in when the tray slammed down on the table. She didn't have to look. Kylie's syrupy voice followed. Didn't know you were still attending classes with the rest of us. Zariah didn't answer. Kylie sat down, uninvited. Pulled a straw from her smoothie and twisted it between her fingers. You live in, like, a group home or something? That true? She said, her voice just loud enough to catch attention. Zariah looked up, eyes calm. No. Kylie leaned in, fake whispering. Because I heard your grandpa was some kind of janitor ninja or something. Like, trained prisoners or whatever. That true? This time, Zariah stared straight at her. He was a martial artist. Right on cue, Braden and Connor arrived. Braden dropped a milk carton next to her juice box. What, you gonna kung fu me from your little throne? He laughed. Connor added, maybe if she could walk, she'd actually fight back. But I guess being a wallflower's easier when you're bolted to wheels. That one hit deep. Zariah's hands clenched under the table. Kylie reached forward and flicked the corner of Zariah's sandwich. It slid off the wrapper onto the table. Oops, she cooed. Zariah rolled back. Picked up the sandwich. Dropped it in the trash. returned. No words. No expression. But inside, the armor didn't crack. It hardened. That night, she didn't just punch the bag. She trained. Deliberate. Focused. Every strike was fluid. Every movement precise. Not because she wanted to hurt someone, but because the moment was coming. And she would meet it ready. Part 5, The Gym Showdown. The gym at Pine Brook had that familiar smell, rubber mats, sweat-soaked jerseys, and whatever mystery cleaner the janitors used that always seemed to linger just a bit too long. It was loud, echoey, and chaotic, especially during recreational free play, Coach Hadley's code word for, "We don't have enough equipment, so make something up." Zariah wasn't supposed to be there. Normally, students rotated between different electives, but a scheduling mix-up had landed her in gym for the week. She kept to herself, as usual, wheeling into the corner by the bleachers, pretending to scroll on her tablet while chaos unfolded around her. The boys were throwing dodgeballs. The girls were staging impromptu TikToks. And Braden, Connor, and Kylie floated around like they owned the room. Zariah was used to being invisible, but today felt different. She could feel the stares again. And the whispers. A few kids looked over, not with curiosity this time, but with something else. Nervousness. She didn't know that rumors had already started to spread about the cafeteria incident. Some exaggerated, some fabricated entirely. One story had her flipping Braden onto a lunch table. Another claimed she'd knocked him out with one move. Truth didn't matter. The myth was growing. Kylie sat on the bench with her phone up, casually recording. Braden was at the water fountain, cracking his knuckles, hyping himself up. Connor leaned in and whispered something, and Braden grinned. Zariah looked down at her hands. Calm. Balanced. Coach Hadley blew the whistle. Everyone grab a ball or grab a seat. You've got 10 minutes to get your heart rate up before cool down. That's when it happened. Braden strutted over like he was on stage. Yo, Z, he said, grinning, loud enough for half the gym to hear. Ever try shooting a basketball, or is that off limits, too? She didn't answer. He stepped closer. Too close. Come on, don't be like that. You want to be part of the class, right? Connor followed. You just sit there all day like a traffic cone with Wi-Fi. A few kids laughed. Not many. Most just stared, unsure. Braden leaned down, lowering his voice. Watch this. Then, without warning, he reached for the handles of her wheelchair and pulled. Tried to tip her back. But Zariah was ready. Time slowed. Her right hand snapped up, grabbing his wrist with controlled precision. Left hand braced against her wheel. She pivoted. A shift. A redirect. Not force, flow. Braden's balance shifted, thrown off by his own momentum. His feet slipped. He stumbled. Zariah's forearm guided him, calm, precise, effortless. He hit the floor. Hard. Gasps erupted. Phones dropped. Someone squeaked a sneaker mid-step. Even Coach Hadley froze mid-net tie. Braden blinked up at the ceiling like someone had unplugged his ego. Connor backed away like he'd seen a ghost. What the hell? Braden barked. Did you just flip me? Coach Hadley rushed over. What's going on over here? Braden pointed furiously. She grabbed me. She threw me. Before Zariah could say a word, Omar stepped forward from the corner. She defended herself, he said clearly. Coach's eyes narrowed. Is that true? Zariah stayed silent. Omar added, he tried to tip her chair. She just stopped him. Kids around the gym nodded. Murmurs spread. Kylie quietly stopped recording. Coach Hadley looked at Braden. Principal's office. Now. What? I didn't even touch. Want me to pull the gym camera footage? Braden's face turned red. This is bull. Now. Braden stomped off, muttering. Connor trailed behind him like a balloon with no air. Coach turned to Zariah. You okay? Zariah nodded. Not because she was unshaken, but because she'd found her center. Omar walked up beside her. Where'd you learn that? She smiled, faint but proud. My grandpa used to say, move like water. Don't get rocked by it. Omar grinned. Your grandpa sounds way cooler than mine. She laughed softly. Yeah. He was. But not everyone in that gym was clapping. Some were already planning their next move. Because nothing threatens a bully like someone they can't control. And Zariah? She was just getting started.